Look around the animal kingdom and you'll notice something strange about your own species. Almost every mammal on Earth is wrapped in fur. Wolves have it, bears have it. Even a mouse the size of your thumb is covered in a dense protective coat. And then there's you, mostly bald, mostly bare, a pink, sweating primate standing in a world full of furry competitors. It looks like a design flaw. Fur blocks cold, blocks sun, blocks scrapes, bites, and thorns. Losing it should have been a disaster waiting to happen. So why did humans, almost alone among every land mammal our size, end up nearly naked? The answer starts on the savanna of East Africa, somewhere between 1 and 3 million years ago. Picture the scene: heat shimmering off dry grass. A herd of antelope moving in the distance, alert, fast, built for short, explosive sprints. And a small group of upright, lightly built primates walking toward them. Not sprinting, just walking, hour after hour, under a sun that would put most animals into the shade by noon. Here's the problem with fur under that kind of sun. Fur is brilliant at trapping warmth. That is exactly what you don't want when your own muscles are generating enormous heat just from moving. A lion can hit incredible speed, but only in short bursts. After a few hundred meters, its body temperature spikes dangerously, and it has to stop, panting, overheating, finished for now. Almost every fast predator on Earth works this way. Explosive speed, followed by collapse. Early humans stumbled onto something almost nobody else does. Instead of competing on speed, they competed on time. They could walk and jog for hours under brutal heat, tracking a wounded animal mile after mile while it sprinted ahead, then stopped, then overheated, then had to stop again, slower each time, while the humans behind it never sped up and never slowed down. Scientists call this persistence hunting, and it is a brutal, patient, almost eerie strategy. No claws, no fangs, just relentless, unglamorous endurance until the animal simply could not run anymore. But persistence hunting only works if your own body can survive hours of self-generated heat without shutting down, and that is exactly where fur turned from protection into a death sentence. So evolution made a trade, one of the strangest in our entire history. Less fur, more sweat. Humans developed millions of eccrine sweat glands packed across nearly the entire body, far more than any other primate. When that sweat hits open air, it evaporates and pulls heat away with it, like a built-in cooling system running constantly under your skin. But it only works if fur isn't trapping that moisture against you. Stop and actually sit with that trade for a second. Your ancestors gave up insulation. They gave up natural armor against sun, cold, and injury. They handed over the one piece of protective gear nearly every other mammal walks around, wearing for free, all so they could keep moving through heat that would drop almost any other large animal on the planet. Nakedness was not a flaw your body suffered through. It was a weapon your ancestors built. But that weapon came with a price, and the bill arrived almost immediately. Bare skin under direct equatorial sun gets damaged fast. Sunburn, tissue damage, and far worse start becoming real threats within days, not centuries. So evolution responded again. Skin pigmentation increased sharply in populations living near the equator. Genetic research on a gene called MC1R suggests darker pigmentation became strongly favored almost as soon as humans lost their coat, acting as an internal sunscreen for skin that fur used to shield automatically. Your ancestors were not just trading fur for sweat. They were trading fur for an entirely new survival system, built in real time, while still walking across the savanna. Here is where the story gets almost unbelievable. Scientists actually have a way to estimate when this all happened, and it has nothing to do with bones or fossils. It comes from lice. Human head lice and human body lice are genetically distinct species that split from a shared ancestor at some point in our past. Body lice can only survive in clothing, not directly on skin. So by measuring how far those two lice genomes have drifted apart, researchers calculated that humans were likely already wearing clothing, and therefore had already lost most of their body hair by around 170,000 years ago, possibly far earlier. Somewhere in deep prehistory, a parasite accidentally left behind a timestamp on one of the most important transformations in human evolution. Once the fur was truly gone, the cold nights that used to be survivable suddenly were not. This is the moment everything accelerates. Clothing stops being optional and becomes essential. Fire stops being a comfort and becomes a requirement for staying alive. Shelter stops being convenient and becomes the only thing standing between a human body and a freezing night. A wolf does not need to invent anything to survive winter. Its body already came prepared. A naked human had to outthink the cold every single night or die. In a strange way, the very thing that made us vulnerable may have been the spark that forced us to start solving problems no fur-covered animal ever had to face. And there is one more twist hiding underneath all of this. Look closely at a human body next to a chimpanzee's, and you will notice we are not actually hairless at all. We carry roughly the same density of hair follicles as a chimp, spread across nearly the same amount of skin. The difference is that human body hair became thin, short, and almost invisible, like fur that got dialed down instead of deleted. Evolution did not erase the coat. It turned the volume down everywhere except a few strategic places, like the scalp, which still shields the brain, the most expensive and important organ your body owns, from direct sun. So when you put the entire story together, a strange picture comes into focus. Losing fur was never a weakness that slipped past evolution by accident. It was a calculated trade, built around one of the most effective hunting strategies any species has ever developed: sweat instead of fur, endurance instead of speed, pigmented skin instead of a built-in coat, fire and clothing instead of armor. Your body grew on its own. Every piece of that ancient trade is still running quietly inside you right now. The reason you can run for miles while a husky overheats after a few blocks traces directly back to ancestors who outwalked, outlasted, and outsuffered prey animals far faster than they were 2 million years ago, under a sun that should have stopped them. The reason a single cold night still makes you reach instinctively for a blanket traces back to that exact same trade, still unpaid, still being collected from every human body on Earth. So the next time a cold breeze hits your skin and your arms cross instinctively over your own bare chest, remember what that chill is actually telling you. It is not a flaw in your design. It is the bill for becoming one of the most relentless endurance hunters this planet has ever produced. And somehow, against every odd a furless animal should have faced, your ancestors paid it, walked it off, and survived anyway.